orientation problems. So they get knocked off course a little bit there due to the drag caused by the severe geomagnetic storm, and so they have to make corrections to their equipment. Other systems that are affected. And this one to me is super interesting. Induced pipeline currents affect preventive measures. I don't know if anybody's aware of it, but you know the big pipelines that run all over our country and throughout the world. When you get these big geomagnetic storms, they induce high currents that go high amperage flows in those pipelines, and they have to take preventive measures. I don't know if that's to reduce corrosion or a safety factor or what, but those currents can reach really high levels. So those are affected. The pipeline currents. Also, HF radio propagation becomes sporadic. Satellite navigation is degraded for hours. And low-frequency radio navigation, which we don't use too much anymore, gets disrupted. And aurora, the northern lights have been seen as low as Alabama and northern California. That's typically about a 45-degree geomagnetic latitude. So, like I say, if anybody's seen the northern lights, I guess it would have been, Sunday night or Monday night? Probably Sunday night, right? Let us know. I'd be interested in knowing. So that's the big one, a G4. And again, we average about 100 of those per solar cycle, so there should be a lot more of those to come. Let's ID again. This is WB8REI, the North Central Ohio Information and Traffic Net. Are there any other stations that would like to check in? Call now.
N8XLQ Jim of Lawrence Township. I dozed off.
Jim, there you are. N8XLQ. Good morning, Jim. Good to hear you this morning. Nice talking to you on the repeater here yesterday, too, by the way. I got you checked in, Jim. Thanks for being here. We'll get into the ISS here, Jim. Why you give us a little heads up on how you heard the school contact. I think that's what we were talking about a little bit yesterday. Touch base with you on that here in just a little bit. So anyway, we were just getting done talking about the big G4 geomagnetic storm that took place at about 1:34 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this past Sunday. And now let's take a look at our space weather for today. Talk about this to keep up to speed on the terminology and really, the fact that it affects our HF radio propagation is a big reason why us amateur radio operators are interested in this kind of stuff. And so, let's see, arriving earlier than a coronal mass ejection hit Earth's magnetic field today. Let's see, make sure we're in the right place here. Hang on a minute. There we go, now we're in the right place. I've been jumping around on the dates here on my screen. I'm going to make sure I give you the right information for today's date, April 26th. All right, so NOAA forecasters say that minor G1 class geomagnetic storms are possible tomorrow on April 27th when a coronal mass ejection is expected to hit Earth's magnetic field. It was hurled into space, on April the 24th, which would have been Monday, by an explosion in the sun's southern hemisphere. Now, most of the coronal mass ejection will sail south of Earth, but its northern flank will probably touch our planet. Looking here, they also just commented a little bit on these aurora sightings. This is here in Earth's southern hemisphere, the severe geomagnetic storm of April 23rd and 24th, which is what we were talking about a few minutes ago, sparked bright auroras and something more. So somebody got some interesting photographs. I wanted to see here where some of the places were that they actually were sighted. Let's see if they listed here. gentleman in Canada, so that doesn't really give us an indication of how south in the United States some of them may have sighted it, but we'll find some later. Again, if you happen to see it, like I say, geez, let us know. Anyway, that is the space weather for today's date. Again, we'll watch for a possible G1 class geomagnetic storm, which could possibly take place tomorrow, April 27th. All right, well, let's take a look at our ionogram here. Before we do, are there any other stations that would like to check in, or any returning stations call now?
Kilo 8 Charlie Victor Mike KHCVM Chuck Parma Heights.
S1. Nothing coming back. All right. AE8PX Ron, I have you back. Thanks for taking care of our outbound traffic this morning. Ron says we got no traffic inbound. So thanks for doing that, Ron. And Chuck, good morning. Kilo 8 Charlie Victor Mike. Nice signal from Parma Heights this morning. Thanks for checking in. Anybody else before we continue?
Took off 8 November.
Morning, Mark. Alpha Golf 8 November. Got you in here, Mark. Good signal this morning. Anyone else? Right, we'll continue here. Don't forget to get your paper, pencil, protractor if you got one, or a ruler. Protractor makes it a little more interesting. Piece of graph paper if you got it, but regular paper will work. We'll use that to talk about a specific item having to do with antenna analyzers. Hopefully you'll pick up something on that. Might find it interesting. I even have a question I'm going to ask you guys about it, or put to you guys, and see if maybe somebody out there may have ran into a particular question that I had with regard to a specific antenna analyzer. So stay tuned, you might be able to help me out. And don't forget your schematic and block diagrams on the Tiffin DX60. We'll be talking about that here a little bit later on in the net also. Let's take a look at our ionogram. From the ionosonde in Alpena, Michigan, we pick it because it's the closest one to us, about 200 miles to our northwest. So the conditions from this ionogram are not going to be absolutely identical to what we might experience, but a lot of times they're fairly close. Give us a rough idea, pretty good idea actually, of real-time HF band conditions. And then if Jim might have listened and might have copied some of the HF beacons around the world this morning. We'll check with Jim in a few minutes, see if he heard any beacons and where he might have heard them and maybe what bands they were on. So let's take a look at the ionogram. Let's see. Right now, the critical frequency is 5.863 megahertz. 5.863 megahertz. That's below the 40-meter band. Of course, it's above our 75-meter band. So high angle radiation, probably pretty good down on 75. Not as good as it could be on 40, since the critical frequency is below 40 meters at the moment. The biggie here, the MUF, the maximum usable frequency. The maximum usable frequency this morning, approximately at this time, is 18.5 megahertz. 18.5 megahertz is the MUF. The F2 layer right now isn't all as high as I've seen it before. It's about 204 kilometers high. That's where the F2 layer is at the moment. We also have a defined E layer at the moment. I gave you the critical frequency of the F layer. That was 5.863 megahertz. The critical frequency of the defined E layer, which you can see right at the moment, is 3.3 megahertz. 3.3 megahertz for that critical frequency. at all other than the initial first echo that's transmitted, and I don't see any reflections coming back. So seems to be a fair amount of absorption right now of 75 meters. Sun's up, and that creates the D layer, and that starts to really attenuate those signals. So as that straight up signal goes up, bounces off the ionosphere, it gets knocked down twice on its way up and then on its way down, and it gets attenuated so much that the ionosphere does not record it, it just doesn't see it. So that gives us an indication of fairly high levels of D layer absorption, especially on 75 meters at the moment. WB8REI. This is the North Central Ohio Information Traffic Net. We'll take a look here at our tropospheric ducting map this morning. Before I do, let me ask, has anybody worked any 2-meter DX recently that you might feel was due to tropospheric ducting? I'm always interested in knowing that. This is the time of the year where we get the temperature inversions, and it's the temperature inversions, really tropospheric ducting, it just follows it. It's almost like a weather forecast. And I'm going to give this forecast in just a moment. There's not too much going on at the moment, but I thought I'd ask first. So anybody that's listening, work any 2-meter DX recently? Okay, I thought we were checking. I haven't seen any really great tropospheric ducting forecast lately, so it doesn't surprise me. And so I'm looking at the forecast here right now, just kind of jumping through each day here, and I really don't see too much going on. You do get, you always get a little of a marginal set of conditions over Lake Erie, which is the case on Thursday, April 27th, right around 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Most of the lakes under marginal conditions. That picks up a little bit better on Friday at 2 a.m., April 26th. Again, pretty much all along the lake, you get marginal to fair conditions. Nothing really great. Till you get to Friday night. Let's go with Friday night, April 28th. About 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the very southern part of Ohio, and into parts of west central Ohio, sets up for marginal conditions, but again, nothing super. Big stuff's really happening, like always, down along the Gulf Coast states, Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia. So bumping the map along here, going into Saturday, southeastern Ohio, again, marginal conditions, and it's just the southeastern part of the state. And going all the way through, let's see, looking at Sunday, April 30th, about 8 a.m., the very western half of Ohio, and then all the way moving to the southwest through Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, all the way down into Texas, actually. You have marginal, you have fair conditions, and there are patches of moderate conditions in that path. So if you're in the west, especially the central west or southwest part of Ohio, toward the very edge of the state, again, that'll be at 8 a.m., right around 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, April 30th. You'll have some marginal to moderate conditions toward tropospheric ducting, especially towards the southwest. Just bumping that along then all the way to the end of our forecast. That's it. Nothing else much happening. But things can change quickly with weather conditions. That's what you want to watch. You get those temperature inversions. That usually is a good indication that you're going to have a good setup for tropospheric ducting. Again, if you make one of those kind of contacts and you think it was due to that type of propagation, by all means holler at us here so we can look at it a little closer. Alright, let's see, we're going to take a look at the International Space Station. We identified WB8REI, our Central Ohio Information Traffic Net. We're going to touch base with Jim here in a minute, N8QQI, and just see how, I'm pretty sure Jim mentioned he had listened to part of the school contact, which I think was last Thursday. And Jim can tell us a little bit about that, and we'll go to Jim here in a few minutes. But let's take a look at the current status of the International Space Station.
The indoor temperature is...
And always like to list the on-off times here. That way, if you happen to be wanting to work the crossband FM repeater, you're not scratching your head wondering, hey, they're supposed to be going overhead here. I don't hear any traffic. It's a good chance they're doing some work up there, and they got the radio shut off. So we always try to go through that. And again, the radio in the Columbus module is in crossband FM repeat. You transmit 145.99 with a PL tone of 67, and you listen on 437.8. So they're going to shut the radios off, let's see, April 27th, tomorrow, and that will be at, that'll be at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They won't turn the radios back on until April 29th, and that'll be right around 8:35 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So there's a pretty large window of time there they're going to have the radios shut off. Also, they got another one recorded here. They're going to shut the radios off on May the 3rd. That'll be right around 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on May 3rd. And they'll turn them back on May the 5th at around 3:40 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So heads up on that if you're looking for it. The radio, the Kenwood radio located in the service module that's set up for packet APRS operations. It follows that same on-off schedule. If you want to work packet APRS, get your favorite APRS software up and running, your radio and your TNC or whatever you're using there for your data hookup, and you want to be on 145.825 simplex. That's your transmit and receive for APRS packet. WB8REI, just identifying here. School contacts, let me tell you the one that's coming up, and then we're going to talk to Jim here, just touch base with Jim, see what he heard there. I think it was last Thursday. I believe that was a school contact in Holland, or not Holland, but Grand Rapids. I think it was somewhere in Grand Rapids, Michigan, one of the schools up there. So if you haven't had a chance to hear the International Space Station answering questions from a school, we're going to get a good shot at it again on May 1st, Monday, May the 1st. And it will begin at 8:43 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday morning, May the 1st. Write that down on your calendar. Just tune your portable or your mobile radio or whatever you got to 145.800. Adjust your squelch to the threshold there. And you listen to my real good chance here you're going to hear the astronauts answering questions from the students. However, you're only going to hear that half of the conversation. The students are talking on probably a UHF uplink frequency, and so you won't be able to hear them, at least not easily. And so what they're talking to, well, they're going to be talking to Council Rock High School South. Matter of fact, that's the piece of traffic I sent out this morning was to that school, congratulating them on their school contact Monday. Yeah, that's a congratulations coming up on their upcoming school contact Monday, May 1st. And again, that'll be in Holland, Pennsylvania. So we should be pretty well in the footprint here in Northwest Ohio to hear that signal pretty good. That will be a direct link from the International Space Station to the Holland School via amateur radio, and that will be conducted by Kilo Charlie 3, Juliet November Delta, and that's the Amateur Radio Club station there in Holland, Pennsylvania. That's what we sent the piece of traffic to this morning. So mark it down, check it out. If you never listened to it, it's pretty neat. It's amazing that you can hear the International Space Station without any big antennas or anything. portable, right from your living room. All right, let's check with Jim. Let's see how Jim did. I believe he was listening in last week. There, N8QQY, Jim. What can you tell us about last week's school contact?
Okay, Jeff, not a whole lot to tell about it other than the astronaut was late getting on the air. He had to apologize. He said he was busy doing something and forgot all about the time. He was about 3, maybe 4 minutes late getting there. But pretty good contact. He got kind of noisy towards the end. And then Friday, I was sitting here in my chair, and all of a sudden 145-800 come alive. And I heard him again at 1. Thursday was 2:20 p.m. and like I said, it was about 3 or 4 minutes late. And then Friday, it was right around 1:30 that they come alive. They was being interviewed again, but I think maybe they was being interviewed by adults. Some of the questions that come across was kind of unusual. It's mostly about personal hygiene. One question was about brushing his teeth. He said, you either have to swallow the toothpaste down or spit it into a towel. And I thought that was kind of interesting. Back to you.
All right, very good, Jim. Yeah, kids are always interested in stuff like that. How do they go to the bathroom in space? How do they sleep? How do they keep from floating around when they're sleeping? All those kind of things that geez, I guess we all wonder about. Yeah, the school contact that we talked about, I think last week would have been for Thursday at 2:30, and you were able to hear that. That surprises me. Usually those guys are punctual. They must have definitely had something going on or whatever, because they got a whole school waiting, and they only got that window of time. There's not much time there, and even when they start on time to get their questions in. So that was kind of unfortunate, but like everywhere else, right? Sometimes people are late. That just happens. Friday, I don't know what that would have been about. I'll do some digging into that. I wasn't aware of any other school contacts in our area on a Friday afternoon. I think you said about 1:30 p.m., but I'll check into that, see what that might have been. It could have been some other kind of conversation or something going on, but I'll have to look at that. That one's got me wondering here.
KD8TTY, what was the frequency that the upcoming one's going to be on?
Radio for another good friend of mine, Cliff here in Tiffin, and thought we'd put a shout out there on the 147.255 repeater. Jim come back to me and got to hear a couple other folks there. Heard Dave up in Toledo, and let's see who else we heard. Rich, and I think it was Ralph. And if I'm not mistaken, you can set me straight, Jim. I think Ralph was the one that might have had the repeaters that were up on one of the old AT&T long line microwave buildings. They're right in your area, which I thought was super interesting. It was nice to hear him come on and give a signal report yesterday. Anyway, I just kind of wanted to say hello to those guys if they're listening here this morning, put a shout out to them. Jim, anything else you got? N8QQY and N8, WB8REI, back to you.
No, that's about it. Yeah, it was Ralph's guy's name. He has a 2 meter and 440 on top of that microwave tower. He's got a couple other towers, old microwave towers over east someplace, and it'd be kind of neat if we could get him to link one of them in with the system and get us over east a little further. But that's about it. Just 3 questions that was being asked Friday. I knew it was just didn't seem like kids, but the reason that come to life on my radio come to life here, I thought maybe they was making contacts with a fellow ham, so I hot-footed it to the back bedroom of the Kenwood, but then I realized there was another interview. Back to you.
All right. Yeah, that's interesting. I'll do some checking on that, see if I can find out. Maybe there was another school contact and I just wasn't aware of it. Could very well be. But thanks for the report. And yeah, I like your ideas there on getting with Ralph. Maybe someday we could. Well, I don't know if he's got any other repeaters going on some of those other AT&T towers going east, but I can imagine they all got pretty good footprints being up that high and out in the clear. For anybody that's interested, you know, that whole thing on those AT&T old microwave towers that were built back, what, in the 50s and 60s, super interesting. If you want to know more about that, of course, Ralph would be the guy to talk to, I'm sure. But you go on the internet, of course, and Google that, AT&T long lines. You can find all kinds of interesting information about the old microwave systems. They got maps and everything showing all the different sites. AT&T's got a wonderful website. You get a chance, Google AT&T, and you go in there, they have all kinds of training videos and old historical videos, and you'll find some there on the old AT&T microwave system and AT&T long line. Super interesting. All right, good talking to you yesterday, Jim. Thanks for the update on all the school stuff. NAQQI and that. BEREI, North Central Ohio Information Traffic Net. Before we continue, anybody else that would like to check in with or without traffic, call now.
Somebody asked for the frequencies for the, I'm assuming, the space station. A minute ago, he was real weak, but come in there.
Posting all kinds of neat stuff here. Let me check with Jim. I didn't want to forget Jim, K-E-8-E-R-N. If he's still with us, Jim, did you get a chance to listen to any of the HF beacons this morning? And if you did you hear any of them? Over to you.
Yeah, Jeff, I was on at 8 o'clock this morning, and everything was quite quiet except for 20 meters. And 20 meters picked up 7 beacons, and only 3 of them were really good solid signals, and that was Australia, Venezuela, and South Africa. And I was able to hear where they turned their power down to like 10 watts or whatever. So they were quite strong signals from those 3 stations. Other than that, it was quite quiet on the other bands. Back to you, this is KE8ERN.
Okay, fine business, Jim. Very good. Sounds like things were open there, yeah, to South America, South Africa, and Australia, 8 o'clock this morning from Jim's vantage point there. Kind of lines up with our muff, which I think was at like 18 megahertz, which would have been later in the morning at after 10 o'clock local. So 20 meters, at least to the southern parts of the world. It's not like there's some pretty good activity there. Jim, thanks for the report. Those HF beacons give you the real thing as far as where the openings might be in various parts of the world that you can hear. If you never checked that out, Google that. I think it's the North Central California DX Association or whatever. They've got a whole bunch of these HF beacons all over the world, and they transmit automatically beacons. And there's a schedule, and there's ways that you can listen and determine where the openings are at in real time with regard to your particular location. So pretty neat stuff. Jim checks that out for us. 8 o'clock in the morning, and we appreciate that, Jim. Thank you. All right, now let's take a look at the Ohio section swap shop. Right, let's see here, for sale. Let's look at what we got here. And there's a lot of good stuff up here. You get a chance to look at it. We'll go through it fairly quickly here, try to anyway. So let's see, Rich Custer, he's got a whole bunch of stuff here. He's got for sale a 39-foot Roan, 45 tower, never assembled, and now it's a part on the ground. Triangular, it says triangular center, approximately 16.75 inches out OC, must be outside center. Includes 3 10-foot sections, 1 9-foot top section, a center mass pipe, approximately 6 foot, a rotor base bracket, hinged base, and a thrust bearing. He's asking $1,200 for all that. He says compare with something new would cost you $2,100. If you're looking to put up a nice round tower, sounds like you might want to check this out here. Sounds like it's probably a pretty good deal. Also for sale, he has a new Ham 4 rotator. He's got the control box, the cable. He's asking $650. Compared with something new would be $1,000. For sale, he's got a Johnson KW Matchbox model 250-30-3. Asking $275 for that. It includes a new in-the-box directional coupler, number 250-37. That makes the meter on the front panel functional. Has a low-pass filter, number 250-20. And miscellaneous paperwork materials on operations and features. And let's see here. Rich also has for sale a pair of 2 heavy-duty mass pipes. One steel and other is aluminum. Approximately 23 foot long by 2.5 inches in diameter each, with a pair of steel saddle clamps to double them up for one mast, 35 to 40 foot tall. Asking $25 for all of that. And let's see, he's got one other thing here. He's got a multi-section aluminum steel mass pipe, approximately 23 foot long by 2-inch diameter. Asking $10 for that mass pipe. So if you're interested in any of that, he says photos are available upon an email or text message. He says questions, of course, are always welcome. He'll do his best to answer them. He wants local pickup in the Akron, Ohio area, or you can meet him halfway from the QTH within approximately the 40 to 50 mile radius. He says otherwise shipping would probably be cost prohibitive due to the weight and size. And of course, the mass pipes and the tower must be picked up at his QTH. Now, if you're interested in that, you can contact Rich at Rich J. Custer, that's RCHJKUSTER at AOL.com, or you can text him or email or call him at 330 351 1347. Looks like some pretty nice stuff there. Also for sale, gentleman has an Electcraft KX2 transceiver. Says it's like new. It's unused except for a basic initial checkout with the original packaging, user manual, and accessories. We list them, the accessories: an MH3 mic, KX-PD2 keyer panel, KX Bravo 2 battery pack, KX Bravo Charlie 2 external battery charger, a KX102F real-time clock, and a KX AT2-F antenna tuner. $850 takes all of it with local pickup in Xenia, Ohio. Now for shipping within Ohio via UPS, ground only, add $15, he says. You can contact Bill, KD8YRM, at 937-271-7774 if you're interested. Again, 937-271-7774. Text messages preferred, or leave a clear voicemail. REI for ID, just sharing all the stuff here on the Ohio Section Swap Shop here. Hal Brashowitz's estate, W8PM, still up. We have a Kenwood TS940S transceiver with a speaker. Asking $600 for that. Got a Collins 75A-4 receiver, $500. And a Hammerlund HQ140 transceiver, $100. Everything's used, sun's dusty, as is, untested condition, except for the Pictures are available. You can arrange a meeting location. Payments via cash, USPS money order, or bank certified check. If you're interested, contact Glenn. Glenn's email address is Alpha Foxtrot 8 Charlie. His call sign Alpha Foxtrot 8 Charlie at ARRL.net. Towards the end here, also for sale, Collins S-Line, 75S3B receiver, 32S3 transmitter. It's got the 312B4 station control, the 30L1 linear amp, the SM2 dynamic mic, and he's asking $1,100 or best offer. If you're interested, contact Tom at 440-320-5523. Email Tom at tporter161 at oh.rr.com. All right, and we've listed this other stuff before. There's a whole bunch of other equipment still listed. Man, I'm telling you, there's all kinds of stuff up on the Ohio Section Swap Shop. You get a chance, go take a look. You might just find that one thing you've been looking for. Hopefully you can find a good deal. Don't forget, if you got something you want to trade, give away, or sell, or if you got a club fundraiser you want to do, you can list that all at the Ohio Section Swap Shop. You can find the terms and conditions there at the webpage. Just find the link from the Ohio Section's webpage. You'll find the link to the Section Swap Shop. Right, let's see here. Before we continue, are there any other stations that would like to check in, with or without traffic? Anybody else who would like a signal report? Call now.
Eight. Papa, India Charlie, WD8PIC, on the 440 side with no traffic.
Kilo Echo 8, Victor Juliet Victor, good morning. This is Tom from Nevada, no traffic. Okay, hi, good morning guys, WD8PIC, good morning Bob. Sound real good coming in on the 440 repeater, good signal Bob from up there in Sylvania. Good morning Tom in Nevada, Kilo Echo 8, Victor Juliet Victor, nice signal Tom. Good to hear you this morning. Thanks you guys for taking a minute to drop by here. Anybody else? Running around the section, some stuff that might be coming up. Don't forget to grab your graph paper, protractor, and your block diagrams. You get the X60B, and then we're going to talk a little bit about specific item having to do with antenna analyzers. We're going to get to all that here towards the end. At this time, though, we're going to take a look at some things that are going on sort of around the Ohio section. Everybody knows Dayton's going to be coming up before you know it here. And one of the nice things, man, if you really want to get immersed in radio, America's Museum of Broadcasting will be open during the 2023 Dayton Hamvention. They're going to run expanded hours during the Hamvention. The museum will be open on Thursday. By the way, they're in Westchester. Westchester is where it's actually located. And the museum will be open Thursday, May 18th from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. They'll be open on Friday, May 19th from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. and on Saturday, May 20th from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. and then again on Sunday, May 21st from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. So lots of opportunities if you want to go over and see the old Voice of America Museum. Real quick, and we're going to go to Bob here in just a second. The admission, by the way, is $10 at the door. The Westchester Amateur Radio Association, WCAVOA, will be on the the air. Now, the museum is a short drive from Hamvention down Interstate 75 or Route 42 from Xenia. You can use the Crossley Boulevard address on your GPS. Check it out. If you want to know more about it, you can go to page 4 of the Ohio section news. Let's go over to Bob, W8JBT. Good morning, Bob. How you doing this morning? What you got for us?
Well, thank you, Jeff. Good morning, Jeff, and everybody on the net. Yeah, I got another Hamfest this weekend. Like I promised several weeks ago, there's going to be a Hamfest almost every weekend now through about September, and then a couple of more towards the end of the year.
Junk.
So this Sunday is the Athens Hamfest, Athens, Ohio. It's 8 a.m. to noon. Its entry is $5. That includes free setup if you want to set up in the flea market. They have indoor building in the flea market. I haven't been down there for a couple of years, but they tell me that the flea market area in the parking lot, all of it is covered now with solar panels, so you get a covered outdoor flea market for free just with your admission. The location is the Athens Community Center, 701 East State Street in Athens, Ohio. As I said, it is from 8 a.m. If you want to set up, I think they open at 6 in the morning. Do have inside tables if anybody's interested. If you need to contact them in this late date, I'm not sure what they would have left. But it is Sunday, April 30th, 8 a.m. to noon. As far as special event stations, I got several this week. I did work one over the weekend. I managed to work the K4S, the Venice Shark's Tooth Festival. Sent my QSL, and now just waiting. Supposed to get a genuine prehistoric shark's tooth fossil in return with their QSL card. So looking forward to that now. They got a pretty colorful card they send also. There's another special event station in our area this weekend, National Library Week, April 28th to the 30th, 1700 Zulu to 1700 Zulu. I think they operate continuously. Call letters K8L, and they're in Youngstown, Ohio, and they'll be operating FT8 and phone on 20 meters and 40 meters. Looks like that's the only two bands they'll be operating on. If you do have more information, they have a connection at their QRZ lookup. If you look up WF8U, they have a lot more information about their special event there. Then there's a couple of others. The 30th anniversary of the Bella Vista Radio Club, Springdale, Arkansas, is on April 29th, 1400 Zulu to 2300 Zulu. Call letters N5BVA, and they'll be operating, looks like, primarily on phone on 40 meters and 20 meters. And there's the anniversary of the birth of radio astronomy, April 29th to the 30th, 1400 Zulu to 2359 Zulu. Call letters W9 and GFC, Virginia and New Mexico National Radio Astronomy Observatory, and they'll be operating on 80 meters, 40, 20, 15, and 10 meters. Another one on Saturday, hams for Pan-Can. It's 1400 Zulu, 1900 Zulu, call letters N4P, and that one is from Florida, and they're operating actually multiple N-number P stations, which means each call letter, they have stations in each call letter using that designator for the call letter to make contacts should be a lot of operators on the air with that. This nationwide special events aim is raising awareness of pancreatic cancer research and support by the PanCAN, which is the Pancreatic Cancer Network, and during its National Purple Stride event. A couple of other ones, the 20 special event, that's on Saturday, 1200 Zulu to 2359 Zulu, and the call is KG4NXO, and they're from Ocala, Florida, and the MERT stands for their Marion County Emergency Management, and they'll be operating phone on 20 meters and 40 meters. And one final one, Dixon County Old Timers Day, May 1st to the 14th, and they'll be operating continuously apparently, and WZT is their call letter, their special event designator, and they're from Dixon, Tennessee, and they'll be operating phone, apparently phone only, on 40, 20, 15, and 10 meters. And that's all I have listed for the special events, and you can get details of any of them if you go to arrl.org, click the On the Air tab, and at the bottom of the page there's a link to the special event stations. We got several in northern Ohio. Fremont has their testing station this Saturday. Sandusky Valley Amateur Radio Club, and that's at 8:30 a.m. Walk-ins are allowed, and the contact is Jay Babione, I believe is the name. No phone number, but contact would be his email, k8vce@yahoo.com. And the location is the Sandusky County Chamber of Commerce, 1245 Napoleon Street, Fremont, Ohio. Another test station on Saturday in Toledo. That's the Toledo Mobile Radio Association, April 29th, 3 p.m. Walk-ins are allowed. Stephen Stalker is the contact, and his number is 419-467-3734. And the testing will be at the Lucas County EMS Training Center, 2127 Jefferson Avenue in Toledo. One other northern Ohio test station is Wauseon, also on Saturday, and theirs is at 9 a.m. They don't allow walk-ins, so you need to call ahead and register. And the contact is Sandra Schwind, and her number is 419-906-3104. And the location of the test is the Fulton County Museum and Welcome Center, 8848 State Highway 108 in Wauseon. And then the final test station, of course, is on Sunday, and that is at the Athens Hamfest. That's 10 a.m. They do allow walk-ins. Contact, if you want to check, get listed, is Jefferson Slattery. His number is 740-541-0972. And the location is at the Hamfest location, the Athens Community Center, 701 East State Street in Athens, Ohio. And it seems to be a growing list of online testing. Now I counted 21 this week, so there's 21 different groups offering online testing, and you can find that information at arrl.org, and or you can check it under the forget the other contact. There's another group. I don't have it on this page, so hamstudy.org is a little better place to look up a chart and listing of all the testing stations. But either location you can find it, and they have online testing almost every day of the week about any time you need to take a test or find a test. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Jeff, at WA8JBT.
and through the spring and into the summertime. All good stuff. I know. You mentioned in the testing park there, ham radio testing Saturday there in Fremont, and we got Jay on here. He checked in here with us this morning. K8 Victor Charlie Echo. So nice to have Jay here with us this morning. And good to put the word out. Appreciate you mentioning all those different locations around the state, including Fremont, here this morning for amateur radio testing there, Bob. Anybody got any questions for Bob on any of the special events or any of the testing or ham fests? Call now. I think I heard you say you worked the Sharp Tooth special event station. Did you receive your QSL card in Sharp Tooth yet, or are you waiting to receive it?
No, I just mailed it. Just worked them on the weekend, and I mailed it right away. That's one I definitely want to get. So it may be several weeks. I've had some take almost 6 months or longer to get, but hoping it'll be pretty prompt on it. WAJVT.
All right, very good. Yeah, the reason I asked, my grandkids are really into the Sharp Tooth stuff. Matter of fact, they gave me one big one that hangs on a chain. I always swear when I go to visit them. And yeah, if and when you get that, why update us on it. Be interested to know what it looks like and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, very good. I think there were so many I wanted to get a chance to work this past week, and I had a whole bunch of other stuff that came up, and unfortunately I missed it. But that would have been a good one to work. So how long is that one running? I'm sure you mentioned it, but I didn't get it jotted down. Are they done with that special event, or is it still on?
Yeah, unfortunately, that one's only for Saturday and Sunday of the last weekend. If you go to K4S and look it up in QRZ, they have a QSO card. I don't know whether it's a current year, but it has a picture of apparently the Sharp Tooth that they're sending out. So you can get a picture of it and see what it looks like. Pretty colorful card, WAJVT.
Oh, very cool. I'll definitely do that. Show it to the grandkids. They love that kind of stuff. Thank you, Bob. Thanks for all the information. Very informative, and we really do appreciate it. Before we continue, are there any other stations with or without traffic for the North Central Ohio information and traffic now? Call now.
Now control, check-in whiskey, 0 Alpha Mike November, W0AMN. Robert National, no traffic.
Robert in Ashland, whiskey 0 Alpha Mike November. Nice signal, Robert. Thanks for checking in with us this morning. Anyone else? All right. Well, we missed our weather report and our ISS and Tiangong passes this morning. Dan was out of pocket this morning. Hopefully we'll catch him next week. But I did get a chance to. I watched for the one. I think it was Thursday night, or excuse me, Thursday morning. I get up pretty early. I'm up at 5 in the morning usually, and these were like 5:30 a.m. passes. And the second one, which I think was Thursday morning, it was too cloudy, couldn't see it. But then the following one that I did get to see, which was just yesterday morning, I did get that one at 5:30 a.m. It's a beauty, man. I can look right up my back deck door. Was able to follow the whole pass. Nice and bright, high in the sky, excellent pass. Thanks to Dan for taking the time to put those together for us. Makes it nice and convenient. If you've never seen the International Space Station, why listen to Dan's report. Make sure you look up in the sky and check it out. It's really, really neat. Tons of other stuff. Let me move a little quicker here. And you can talk from your amateur radio to these various armed forces bases and communicate with them and make a contact, and maybe even, well, you can get a nice QSL card, that sort of thing. And so if you've never done that before, you can do that. That's going to be coming up Armed Forces Day here on May the 13th. It is so cool. It's a lot of fun. It's super interesting. If you've never done it, let me tell you just a little bit about it. The Armed Forces folks put out a schedule. I'll tell you where you can get it here in a second. And they tell you what base they're at. They tell you what time, universal coordinated time, that they will be transmitting. And they tell you what frequencies they're going to be transmitting on. And those are frequencies that are outside the amateur band, but you can listen. And what they'll do is they'll get on there and you listen, and they'll tell you what amateur frequency they are listening on. So once you know that information, you can set your radio up to operate split mode, right? Because you're listening outside the amateur band, you're listening to them, the military station. And then when you key your radio up, transmit, and you got your in the amateur band. And again, they will tell you where they're going to be listening. So there's some things involved there that require you got to kind of be on your toes, heads up, paying attention to your times, your frequencies, get your radio split set right, all that kind of stuff. But it's really cool. It's a lot of fun. I usually try to make it every year. Again, you can get QSL cards from some of the bases. Just looking down through just some of them here. Geez, they got a whole bunch of them. The U.S. Northern Command in Colorado is going to be on. Camp Foster in Okinawa will be on. Robins Air Force Base, Warner Robins in Georgia. Let's see, Naval Support Activity in Mid-South Millington, Tennessee. They got the Cyberspace Operations Directorate in Fort Meade, Maryland's going to be on. Scott Air Force Base in Illinois will be on the air. Travis Air Force Base in California will be on. We got some ships on here too. The USS Yorktown Patriots Point, South Carolina is going to be on the air. The USS Iowa in Los Angeles, California. I'm almost through these. I just think they're interesting. The USS Midway in San Diego is going to be on. Evansville, Indiana, the List 325, the LST 325, I believe that's a ship, will be on from Evansville, Indiana. The U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland is going to be on. How cool is that? You can talk to those guys. The Newport Naval Radio Station Museum in Newport, Rhode Island will be on the air. Others here, the U.S. Coast Guard base in Alameda, California. And let's see, it says School Cyber Training Center in Savannah, Georgia will be on. And they got Whidbey Island, Oak Harbor, Washington will be on. So lots of interesting places. There's some I haven't even listed here. But again, Google Armed Forces Day and find the link that has the schedule. You'll find it, and I'm looking at it right now. We'll have those. It'll tell you the frequencies and the times that these various military locations will be transmitting. And you got to dial that up on your radio. It'll be outside the amateur band. And they'll tell you where they're going to listen in the amateur band, and so you got to set your radio up to operate split. Make sure you got it set right so you're not transmitting somewhere else. And get your times and frequencies right. You can make contact with some of these military stations. A lot of fun. Like I said, you can get QSL cards from them. Pretty cool. They go to all that trouble. They always do a special Armed Forces Day defense message, and that just requires that you copy the message, and that's a lot of fun too. And so that will be sent at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. They're going to do it 2 different times on Saturday, May, what did we say that was? Let me get to the date here again. Saturday, May 13th. They're going to send the Armed Forces Day message in about 3 or 4 different modes. And I'll tell you what those are in a second. So the first one will be at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you got to get the schedule here. There's a whole list of frequencies that they're transmitting the Air Force or the Armed Forces Day Defense message. Now they're going to do it in the various modes. They're going to use PSK, Mil Standard 110. That's one mode. They're going to use RIDI. If you like to copy RIDI, that'll be another mode. And also CW. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to be copying CW. And they list, and that's going to be done from Mo and a whole bunch of different military locations around the country and around the world. So again, just Google Armed Forces Day, and you'll find a link somewhere to this page I'm looking at with all these frequencies, all the bases, and also the Armed Forces Day message frequencies and times. Check it out, man. Definitely do it if you've never done it. It's really, really neat. Any questions on Armed Forces Day? All right, everybody's up to speed. Definitely go check it out if you got questions. Just all the information's online. You can find it. Moving along here, thought I'd mention here a little bit about ARRL member bulletin. A lot of us guys are on it, myself included, and maybe some of you are ARRL members. Mention this real quick. They're making a big decision together. It says, "Dear member," and I think this is from Dave Minster, NA2AA. He's the CEO of the ARRL. He says, "Dear member, for only the second time in 22 years, we are considering a dues increase." He says, "Promoting and protecting amateur radio requires a strong and vibrant American Radio Relay League. Paying our dues," and some of you go above and beyond that, "is one way each of us does our part." So in his column in the April issue of QST, you can read that, I think you do, he says he introduces the following question. How does the American Radio Relay League handle an increase in dues? And he says on May 1st, we will launch an online survey inviting all ARRL members to participate. The survey will include some short questions about raising dues and modifying the way some membership benefits are bundled. The survey will also include an opportunity to share your feedback. The participation of every member is important. There's a whole lot more to this. I'm not going to go through all of it, but you can go to the ARRL's website if you are a member there and take that survey. I suggest you read the article. Again, it's on page 8 of the Ohio Section News. That way you can find all about it. But just a little heads up there, especially if you're a member of the American Radio Relay League, which, by the way, is a great organization. Right, this is WB8REI, the North Central Ohio Information Traffic Net. A couple updates before we get to technical stuff on a couple of the big fun contesting type events that are going to be coming up. REI just identifying here. So this year, I don't know if it's the second year they've done this. It's fairly new, and that's the American Radio Relay League's International Digital Contest. That's going to happen Saturday, June the 3rd. Begin at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturday, June the 3rd, and it will run until 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, June the 4th. Kind of cool. It's all digital if you like to operate the various digital modes. Since the American Radio Relay League's International Digital Contest is a digital competition on 160, 80, 20, 15, 10, and 6-meter bands. With single operator and multi-operator single transmitter categories. Now, with the exception of RIDI, so they don't do RIDI, all digital modes that can support the contest exchange are permitted. contest exchange, it is just the 4-character grid square. And you can get more information about grid squares and all that just by Googling arrl.org/grid square. So that's the exchange. They're going to allow single operator categories that include SO1R, that's single operator with 1 radio, and single operator 2 radio. Those 2 different categories can operate 24 hours out of the 30-hour contest period. Multi-operator stations may operate the entire 30 hours. Now, it's kind of cool. They got a category also, which is a limited operating time category for single operator stations, where a maximum of 8 hours of operating time is allowed. So if you're limited to maybe a time there, you want to operate all digital, other than ready now, you might want to look at that category. Power categories are QRPs, that's 5 watts PEP transmitter power or less, output power. And low power is 100 watts PEP transmitter output. There is no high power category for the event. Now this part, how they score points, I think is really neat. It's kind of different than a lot of the contests I know that I've operated in. And so participants, you can earn 1 point per contact, plus 1 point for every 500-kilometer distance between stations. And so your total score is the sum of all contact points. And so there's a link from the ARRL website you can go to see some of the scoring examples. And maybe find out a little bit more on how they determine. And I'm sure they do it from grid square to grid square, what the actual distance is. And again, you get an extra point, or you get 1 point for every 500-kilometer distance. So distance is the key there. Stations can work each other once per band, regardless of the digital mode. And again, just remind you, there's no RIDI in this contest. You can contribute your scores to your affiliated ARRL radio club as well. So check it all out. It's on page 78 of the latest issue of QST magazine. It's coming up soon here. It's that first weekend in June. REI identifying here. Just continuing here with another quick update here, and then we're going to get into our technical stuff here. Field Day. Field Day is going to be here before we know it, right? It's always the fourth full weekend in June. And this year that'll be June 24th and 25th. It'll run from 1800 UTC, which again is 2 p.m. Saturday afternoon, until, Sunday, June 24th, and that will be until 2 p.m. Sunday afternoon, June 25th. Now, the big thing I wanted to mention here this morning is there are some new rules for the 2023 Field Day this year. So, let's see here. That says there is a new 500-watt peak envelope power transmitter output category only for Class A, B, and C stations. So that's new. Changes to scoring the Get on the Air station have also been made this year, so there's some changes there. It says contacts made from the GOTA station are worth 5 points regardless of the mode, with no limit to the number of contacts that can be made. Quite a change here on the GOTA station scoring. It says stations can earn 100 Get on the Air coach bonus points for having a coach supervise at least 10 of the contacts made and logged at the GOTA station. The big changes or the new rules are the new high power 500 watt PEP output category, and then the changes in the way they're scoring the GOTA station. Those things have changed. Now, there are some changes in the sections, and so you're going to want to make sure that your software, your logging software, has been updated. So now's the time to do that if you haven't Radio Amateurs of Canada section list. So these are all the Canadian sections. And so the Maritime, which was MAR section, has been eliminated, making the New Brunswick and Nova Scotia the new sections. So those will be listed as November Bravo for New Brunswick and November Sierra for Nova Scotia. Those are the two ones replacing the Maritime. REID, just continuing here. Also, the Greater Toronto Area section. That one's been renamed to the Golden Horseshoe. So it is now Golf Hotel, GH, Golden Horseshoe, replaces the Greater Toronto Area section. Also, the one called Northern Territories, the Northern Territories section, has been renamed TER for Territories. Participants, make sure your logging software has been updated to reflect these changes. Again, you can read more about the upcoming field day for this year on page 77 of the April issue of QST magazine. All right, got that all covered. Let's go, let's get ready here for our antenna analyzer portion here we wanted to talk about. We missed that last week. We'll get to the Heathkit DX60 schematic and have a little fun with that. All right, so what are we talking about here this morning? Well, let me get to my spot here and get my papers in front of me. All right. Well, hopefully you got maybe some graph paper and a protractor, but a piece of paper and a pencil and maybe a ruler is sufficient as well. And so, if you want to follow along a little bit closer about what I'm talking about, if you were to Google Rig Experts Antenna Analyzer, specifically their HF analyzer, which is the model AA-35 Zoom. If you're in front of a computer, you can Google Rig Experts AA-35, and you'll find a manual, an online manual, a link to an online manual there. It's pretty basic. And so if you get that, you find it. If you scroll to page 11 of that manual, and if you don't have that manual or you can't bring it up, that's okay too. I'll just describe to you verbally what I'm looking at. But if you can get it in front of you, it's kind of helpful. What are we talking about? What did we want to look at here this morning with regard to antenna analyzers? Well, what I wanted to kind of cover just a little bit. This can get pretty in depth, but we'll try to keep it sort of not too deep. And that has to do with what you see on your antenna analyzer when you're checking a dipole antenna. I'm going to stay strictly with the dipole antenna for today because that can change depending on what type of antenna you're looking at. Dipoles are pretty common, so we'll look at that one today. And so what I'm talking about is the values that you see on your antenna analyzer. You see an R and a value, and you see an X and a value. Most of you probably know, it's listed in ohms, right? The R's might, on this particular example I'm looking at, with regard to the Rig Experts HF analyzer, shows 45.0 ohms for the R, and it shows 28.5 ohms for the X. Some of you probably got a pretty good idea what that is, but some of you might be scratching your head wondering, I don't know what that means. I never really pay any attention to it or anything like that. So let's delve into that a little bit. So basically what they're giving you there is they are giving you what are actual coordinates on a graph of the impedance of the antenna that your analyzer is measuring. Now, your antenna analyzer can display that impedance in two different formats. This particular format, anytime you see the R and then a value, and then the X and a value, that is called a rectangular format. That's the format that the analyzer is presenting the data to you at. Now, there's another format that your antenna analyzer can also present that data to you, and it's called a polar format. And the polar format would be given to you in values of ohms also. It might say just, well, on this particular antenna analyzer, it shows the Z for impedance. And then it shows, on this particular measurement, it says 53.3 ohms is the impedance at a phase angle of 83.2 degrees. So that's a polar format. Now, those two different formats and those values mean the exact same thing. Even though the numbers are different, they're describing an impedance of the antenna, but they're describing it two different ways. Well, first let me bring this to you here. So you ask yourself, well, why do they give it to you two different ways? Why is that impedance value displayed in two different formats? Well, there's a few different reasons for that. One of the most important ones is that when you go to, if you ever want to analyze a circuit and its impedance, and you need to add impedances, or if you need to multiply and divide impedances, or add or subtract impedances, you want to make sure that when you go to do that, that the data is in the proper format. And when I say proper format, I mean the one that lends itself best for doing those mathematic operations. So in other words, if you wanted to add different impedances, complex impedances, or subtract them, you would want to use the values that are given in the rectangular format. So that's the one most everybody sees. Even if you get an MFJ analyzer, it doesn't give you what's called the sign of the reactance, but it does give you the real part, which is the resistance, and it gives you what's called the imaginary part, or the reactance, and that's a rectangular format. And that's nothing more than 2 points plotted on a flat graph. And we're going to do that on a piece of paper here in a moment. So that's one way to describe the impedance looking into the dipole with this antenna analyzer. The other format, again, is called a polar format, and the polar format, those values, which in this case is 53.3 ohms at an angle of 83.2 degrees, lends itself really well when you want to multiply or divide impedances. Well, some of you probably will never need to do that, or maybe you're not even interested in ever doing that. But your antenna analyzer gives that data to you in those two different formats, and that right there is one of a few different really important reasons for giving it to you two different ways. Most of the time, you'll see it in the rectangular format, which is 2 points plotted on a graph. So let's do that, and once we plot those 2 points, then I'll show you how you can do you can either calculate or you can draw a line and determine what the polar format is. This is WB-REI for ID. So if you got a flat piece of paper or a piece of graph paper, just draw yourself a flat graph, a vertical line straight up and down, and then a horizontal line that cuts right through the middle from left to right. Horizontal line on the far right would be labeled 0 degrees. At the very top of your vertical axis will be plus 90. At the far left of your horizontal axis will be plus or minus 180 degrees, and at the bottom part of the vertical graph it will be marked negative 90 degrees. I'm going to use my example that I'm looking at here in the manual of the Rig Experts HF antenna analyzer. I'm on page 11 of that manual, and so it gives a value value of impedance in rectangular format of 35 ohms, of 45 ohms, and an X value of plus 28.5 ohms, which is an inductive reactance of 28.5 ohms. So you can plot that on your graph. If you got a piece of graph paper, you might want to assign a value to like 1 inch or a half inch or whatever, so that it's meaningful to you. Once you do that, so you have on your graph paper drawn to scale, on the horizontal line going from the center towards the right, you want to plot a point, and that'll be the R value. That's the real. It goes by a couple different terms. Either you can call it it's the real line or the real value, or the resistance. In this case, on this example, they plotted it at 45 ohms. So if you put a little dot on your horizontal line on your graph, that'll be the 45 ohm real resistance value. If you're still with us here, as we're plotting our rectangular values from our Rig Experts antenna analyzer, the next value we're going to plot is called, these are some terms, is the imaginary part of the rectangular reading. And this so happens to be, it's the X value, which means it's reactive. It's the reactive part. And on this example, it's positive, which means it's inductive, which means now we're going to plot a point straight up. You're going to go straight up. If that had been negative or capacitive reactance, we would plot this point going straight down. So on this example, it's 28.5 ohms. So again, if you've got your graph drawn to scale, plot a point straight above that R value point and draw a little point right there on your graph. All right, so once you've done that, when you look at that, you are literally looking at the rectangular format of the impedance of this particular dipole antenna. Now, something that's real important when you're using an antenna analyzer, you got to make sure you got to look at the frequency. You want to punch in the frequency, which would be the resonant frequency of your dipole. In this example, it's 17.5 kilohertz. It says that right on the display here of our antenna analyzer. So those resistance and reactive values were all calculated by your antenna analyzer based on that frequency you got punched in. So if you were to change the frequency of your analyzer, those values would all change. So right now we plotted 45 ohms of real resistance on the horizontal line going to the right, and we plotted the inductive reactance straight above that point on what's called the imaginary axis. That's the vertical axis, straight above the R value. And in our example, it's 28.5 ohms. So right now you got 2 points on your graph. So now we'll talk a little bit, if anybody's a trigonometry type person, we might throw a few little trig terms in here too, because it's really all about trigonometry. It's really interesting. And so if you draw a straight line from that R value straight up to your X value, you'll notice that you formed a right triangle from that horizontal line and then straight up to your X value. That forms a right triangle. So now at that point, if you take a ruler and you draw a line from that X value point you plotted, and you draw that straight line right to the center of the graph, it'll go on an angle right down to the center of the graph. What you have plotted there is the actual polar format of the impedance of the antenna. If you're a trigonometry person, you've just plotted a hypotenuse of a right triangle. If you haven't done that yet, just go reactive, or in this case our inductive reactance of 28.5 ohms, and draw that straight line right to the center where your two intersecting lines are on your graph. And once you have that drawn, you can take if you have a protractor, you can now lay the protractor on the graph, and you can measure that angle of that line you just drawn with respect to the horizontal line. That will give you the phase angle of the impedance measurement that you're making of your antenna. Now, the beauty of the antenna analyzer is it calculates all that for you. But I thought you might be interested in seeing this. So when you look at your graph, if you did it right, you got 2 points plotted. The 2 points are the values given to you in what's called a rectangular format. Super handy if you're going to add and subtract a bunch of complex numbers, or in this case, impedances. As a matter of fact, it's really the easiest way to do it. And then when you drew that line from the inductive reactance value to the center of the graph, that is a line that is actually the hypotenuse of the right triangle that you made, and that is the actual impedance value. And you can calculate that if you drew your graph to scale. Just measure the length of that line and multiply that by your scale value, and that will tell you the actual impedance in ohms. Now that's in the polar format. So there's 2 things included in the polar format. That is the actual impedance values. It's the magnitude of the impedance. And then you can take your protractor and measure the angle from the horizontal line up to that hypotenuse line you just drew. That will give you the angle of the impedance. So those 2 values, the hypotenuse, or the actual magnitude of the impedance, and the angle of the impedance, those 2 values make up what's called the polar format, which is super handy if you're going to multiply or divide a whole bunch of complex numbers or impedances. And that's one of the reasons it's given to you 2 different ways. REID, WB, REID. So one of the big takeaways, I think, important things to point out is notice that the impedance value in polar format is 53.3 ohms, and it gives a phase angle of 83.2 degrees. But notice in rectangular format, it has the R value of 45 ohms and the X value of positive 28.5 ohms. Notice those values, the numbers are completely different. However, they mean the exact same thing. They're giving you the exact same impedance at the feed point of your dipole antenna, but they're giving it to you 2 different ways. REI for identification. Now, we use the word trigonometry and all that. All that stuff sounds really complicated and scary, and a lot of people don't even want to delve into it. But you don't got to get too deep into it, and it's really pretty simple. To calculate, if you want to know how the analyzer is calculating that polar formatted impedance, the formula for that is just the formula for the hypotenuse of the right triangle. And I know that sounds like a mouthful, but basically that is the sum of the squares, and then you take the square root of that. So it's the square root of the sum of the squares. What does that mean? Well, in this case, if you take the real value of 45 ohms and you square it on your calculator, and then you take the value of the inductive reactance, square that on the calculator, then add those 2 numbers together, then take the square root of that sum, that will give you the impedance in polar format. So right now, if you have I should have said get a calculator. So if you took 45 and squared it, and then you took 28.5 and squared it, add them together, then take the square root of that answer, it'll come back to 53.3 ohms, the actual polar formatted impedance. That's what your analyzer does for you. It does the calculation for you. Well, for anybody that follows trigonometry, it's a real simple division problem. And so in trigonometry, what they say is the angle, and it's called theta, that's just the name they gave that angle, is, excuse me, is the imaginary part divided by the real part. And so I'm using trigonometry terms. I'm saying imaginary divided by the real part. And so in electronics, physics, or whatever term you want to use there, the imaginary part is the inductive reactance. So we take the inductive reactance of 45 ohms, and this is going to lead to another problem here I'm going to talk about here. It's going to confuse everybody even more. But this is really simple. You just, and if anybody that's studied for their extra class test has already done this. And so if you take the reactive part, the inductance, and you just divide it by the real part, the resistance, you get what's called the tangent. That's the tangent of the angle theta. It's just a ratio. That's all it is. It's a ratio of the two sides of that angle. REI for identification. So in order now to find the actual angle, you can either look up that ratio in a chart. You can go online and find them, and you can find the angle of theta based on that ratio. If you have a calculator, you'll take that ratio, which is again, it's the inductive reactance divided by the resistance, and you'll you'll take the what's called the arc tangent. You'll use the arc tangent function of your calculator, and that will give you the actual angle theta. So it's a very simple thing. Just divide the reactance by the resistance, take the arc tangent, that gives you the angle. You now have the complete polar format of the impedance that you're measuring. REI for identification. So later on, if you really dig into that kind of stuff, and you can get pretty deep into it, it gets pretty interesting. It's just a very detailed kind of thing with a lot of steps. It's not overly complicated, but there are little details you got to keep straight, or things can get pretty confusing. However, hopefully this helped a little bit in your understanding of the two formats that your antenna analyzer gives you. R and X values, that's the rectangular format, and just the Z and an angle is the polar format. The numbers will be different, but they mean the exact same thing. Take a piece of graph paper, make it to scale, get a protractor, and you can draw on your graph the 2 points in rectangular format, and then make the hypotenuse line, take a protractor and measure the angle, and now you can see not only the rectangular format, but the polar format as well. I'm going to wrap this up quick, but with a little bit of a that I have, and maybe somebody out there might know the answer to it. I'm not sure how they're calculating that. It does not come from the angle that I come up with. I have something to pose to you guys. See if you want to do it, check it out. Let me know what you find out. In the meantime, I'll be researching it too. And if you own one of these Rig Experts antenna analyzers, if I owned one, I would surely want to understand that. How are they coming up with that phase angle? The reason I question that is because in all the examples that I'm seeing of their displays, every time you take the reactive part, you divide it by the real part, or the resistance, and then you take the arc tangent of that, it gives me an angle, but it's never the angle that they show. KERN in their extra class license. This shouldn't be too puzzling because you've already covered that. You guys have already talked about these things. You've already talked about how to calculate the phase angle of an impedance. Again, simply divide the reactance by the resistance, and then just take the arc tangent of that ratio, and that will give you the phase angle. But on all these examples in this display, they never come up with the same value. And so they're talking about something different, or I'm missing something. So all you guys out there that are into that sort of thing, if you are bored, research it. Let me know what you come up with for an answer, and hopefully between now and next week, either you guys will have an answer or I will. Maybe somebody's got the answer now. Anybody?
KEADRN.
I know Jim was just on Wednesday. Ever going to shut up so we can get in there? Go ahead, Jim.
This was one of the things we had in our extra class, and I had everybody get a Texas Instruments 36X Pro calculator, and you were working with imaginary and real numbers. And that's going to work out the rectangular part you were talking about, and also you can convert that rectangular part by just poking a button on this thing, and it'll show you what it is in polar. So anyway, I thought I'd bring that up, and maybe some of the students that were listening on the air here will remember what I talked about when we did that on the TI 36X Pro. Back to you, KEADRN.
Fine business, Jim. Super cool. Well, Jim just brought up a good point there. So if anybody remembers what he was talking about there, you got one of those Texas Instrument, 36X Pros. You can just punch the values in. And in this case, we're talking about the rectangular values. That's the resistance and the reactance. And punch a number, and it'll give you the phase angle, which is one of the parameters in polar format. Now, when you do that, see if you come up with the same phase angle that the Rig Experts user's manual for, I'm looking at, I think it's the Zoom 35, I think that's the one. It's the HF antenna analyzer. And so see if you come up with the same value. If you do, I would be interested in knowing how your calculator, what the actual calculator's doing. And if you don't, now you're going to be in the same boat I'm in. What is it that Rig Experts in their antenna analyzer, what are they actually measuring? Because I never come up with the same phase angle. So very good. Thanks for bringing that up, Jim. That was pretty good. And if you get a chance, try one of those, Jim. First, you got to Google Rig Experts User's Manual for their HF. It's the AA35 Zoom. Rig Experts AA35 Zoom. Go to page 11. Yeah, page 11 gives one example. And you'll see if you come up with the same phase angle. They show 83.2 degrees for this example. REI for ID, just to kind of stay consistent here. So this example I'm looking at the Rig Experts antenna analyzer, here's how I would calculate it. I would take the reactive part, I'm punching this in as I'm talking, 28.5 ohms. I would divide that by the real part, or the resistance of 45 ohms. That gives me a ratio of 0.633333. Now to get the angle, I just take the arc tangent, punch that in, and it gives me an angle of positive 32.35 degrees, which is not what the example shows. It shows an angle of 83.2 degrees. And so it's not just this example. I looked at a whole bunch of other ones in their manual, and none of them come back to the numbers I come up with. So somebody set me straight on that, and we'll all learn something. And to me, it's important to know what those numbers mean. I mean, geez, you spend the money for a nice antenna analyzer, you might as well try to sort of understand what some of that stuff means. One other thing I was going to mention here, and then we're going to get close to wrapping it up here, has to do with the inductance and capacitance values that are shown on the Rig Experts meter when you're measuring an impedance, say, of a dipole antenna. And one of the things that always comes up is why they show a negative value sometimes and just a no sign or a positive value other times. And in their display, there's a reason for it. They explain it. Here's the explanation. Again, if you were looking at the example I'm looking at, it shows an inductance value of this antenna's impedance of 259.1 nanohenries. And there's no sign, so that's positive. Then it shows a capacitance value of minus 319.2 picofarads. Okay, now don't, it's easy to confuse that minus and positive sign with reactance values, and that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about actual farads and inductance values. So you don't use plus and minus for those, but Rig Experts does, and that's confusing to people. Now here's what their explanation was, and it's an okay one, but if you don't know what it means, it's going to be meaningless to you. What they're saying here is, on this particular example, they're saying that the X, which is 28.5 ohms, is inductive reactance. And that inductive reactance is an inductance of 259.1 nanohenries at the frequency, which is 17.5 kilohertz. The capacitance, what they're saying there with that minus, they're saying that that's the capacitance value that you would have to use at that frequency to cancel out that inductive reactance. So if you wanted to completely cancel that out, that 28.5 ohms of inductive reactance, you would need to add 319.2 picofarads, and that's what that would do. And that's what that minus means. Two other values on the screen, they give you the SWR. Everybody knows what SWR, standing wave ratio. In this example, it's 1.82. That's a pretty good SWR, right? Pretty low, less than 2 to 1. And then the RL means return loss. And you can learn about return loss. And return loss is really, the higher the return loss, the better the impedance match. Normally, a return loss of 14 dB or higher is really good. It's really good. 10.7 is not bad. It's not bad. But the lower that return loss goes, the more mismatched your antenna is. So, or whatever impedance it is that you're measuring. So that's return loss and SWR. Last but not least, they also give you an opportunity to select series model or parallel model. Now, what that means is the meter, the antenna analyzer, will give you those impedance values in two different formats. And so that's really important to know. A lot of people kind of just sort of take it for granted, but if you're going to measure a dipole antenna resonance appears like a series model impedance. So you want to make sure you're in the series model configuration. You're actually measuring the real value and the imaginary value in series with each other. And that's how a dipole resonance is modeled. Other type of antenna, maybe like a loop antenna, maybe I don't know, maybe an end-fed antenna, high impedance antenna resonance would look more like a parallel resonance circuit. And in that case, you would want to be in the parallel mode. So there are all kinds of these little subtle things that you really want to dig into. You want to kind of understand, or you can go way off on the deep end. But anyway, hopefully today everybody got confused a little bit, and maybe you're scratching it, and maybe you're asking yourself some new questions, maybe you even learn something. And hopefully by next week, I'm going to learn something new, and maybe some of you will too, on how the Rig Expert calculates the phase angle. 12:30, we went way over time here. We're going to wrap it up here. Unfortunately, my apologies here. We did not get to the Heathkit DX60, so we're going to extend that one extra week so that we still got 3 weeks left to analyze that. So my apologies to you guys that wanted to look at that. Thing I would like to mention, though, before I get off the subject of the DX60, we're going to pick up on that next week, is last week, Mark, AG8N, talked about, we got into talking about a transmitter that he had that was kind of similar, sort of, from many years ago, which was a Viking Viking 2, Mark mentioned he had, a Johnson Viking 2. And then Ron mentioned his first transmitter that was sort of similar to a DX60 was the Viking Ranger. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up here real quick, is how ironic I thought this was. The April issue of QST magazine, the one that just came out, on page 98, there's a beautiful article called under Classic Radio. It's called A Brief History of the E.F. Johnson Company. And they got a beautiful photograph of the Viking Ranger. Hopefully Ron's still listening. If you get QST, if you haven't already looked at it, Ron, check it out. You'll see your Viking Ranger in there. And they don't have the Viking 2 photograph, but they got the Viking 1, which was a little bit lower power version of the Viking 2 that Mark had. But shows a photograph of it, and they talk all about the history of the E.F. Johnson Company. So I thought that was interesting, you know, how ironic. We were just talking about those radios, and lo and behold, it's as if QST was listening to us. Nice article, page 98 of QST, the April edition. Check it out if you haven't seen it already. Right, I think we're going to wrap it up. Let's see, before we close, anybody got any questions or comments, or does anyone want to make any announcements? Call now.
KD8TTY, Dwayne, I wanted to know what that frequency was for the school one that's coming up here pretty soon.
Hi, Dwayne. You want to know the frequency of...
Yeah, Net, the school contact.
Yeah, the frequency is 145.800. 145.800. And yeah, you just punch that into your mobile radio or your base or portable, and you, whatever that day was I gave you, I think it was Monday, May 1st, and whatever that time was that I gave you, you listen there, and what you'll hear the astronauts as they answer questions that the kids are asking. You won't hear the kids because they're on the uplink frequency, but you will hear the astronauts. Okay?
Thank you, Net. It's been a good informative show today.
Well, thanks, Dwayne. Thanks for being there today, too. Appreciate it. All right. Anybody else got anything?
K8RWN, time out of New London. Jeff, I failed to mention earlier that I heard some traffic on the Mansfield repeater, but I don't know why it's not linked to the net. That was the 075.
Okay, let me untangle everybody here a minute. We had some double in there. First, standby minute. I think that was Tom. Kate, I think it was Bravo Charlie Echo. Good morning. Thank you for checking in. Do I got your call right? And what was your name?
This is Jay, K8BCE. I just wanted to say that the repeater for the Sandusky Valley Amateur Radio Club is down temporarily. Nothing wrong with the repeater. We just lost our position on the antenna tower. So for a while, we're just going to operate on the 145-250 and use simplex for our net on Monday evening. Thanks, Jeff, and thanks for putting on about our VE test this weekend.
All right, fine business, Jay. Man, I've been clobbering your call sign and name and everything all morning here. That's terrible. Yeah, you got a great signal, by the way. Yep, real fine on everything. Okay, so Fremont repeater's down temporarily. Must be changing the position on the antenna tower. Guys are going to be using 145.25, and they'll be on simplex for the net this weekend. All right, well, keep us posted on that, Jay. And you get any change in status on their Fremont repeater, we'll be sure to let us know. Appreciate that. And yep, thanks to Bob for all the ham radio testing information. He's the one that puts that all together. So, and we really appreciate what Bob does here too. Anybody else?
RWN, Tom out of New London. Sorry I didn't mention it earlier, Jeff, but I did have some traffic on the 443075 Mansfield repeater last night. I don't know why it's not linked in with us.
All right, thanks for coming back there, Tom. Well, that's interesting. Well, thanks for the update on the Mansfield repeater. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed. Maybe they're still working some things out or whatever. And the fact that you the Hertz traffic on it the other night's a good sign, I think. And maybe in the not too distant future, maybe we'll get it linked back here on the North Central Ohio Information and Traffic Net. All right. And thank you very much, Tom, for the update. I know there's some folks out there that are really excited about seeing the Mansfield repeater come back online. So, again, we'll keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully we'll hear it soon. Thank you. You got anything else, Tom?
We got a nice sunshiny day going on at Finley State Park. Wish you guys could enjoy it.
You're rubbing it in. Well, thanks for bringing a little bit of the nice state park stuff to us here on the net this morning. I don't know how long you're going to be there, probably maybe the whole week. Well, enjoy the week. I hope the weather, I hadn't looked at it. We missed Dan's forecast today, so hopefully the weather's going to be good for you here this week. And yeah, get on the radio as you already are. Get on the amateur radio there and operate from the state park. I'm sure a lot of people would enjoy that too. Good to hear you, Tom. And again, thanks for the update on the Mansfield repeater. Much appreciated. K8RWN at the Finley State Park, WB8REI, here on the North Central Ohio Information Traffic Net. Anybody else?
N8XLQ, comment.
Scott, PD8OUR, go ahead.
I just want to say hello there. I heard you call for check-ins there, so just sitting here working on a paper for school. So heard you calling there and heard the net earlier. So hope everybody's having a good morning there. This is KD8OUR.
Good to hear you this morning, Scott. Thanks for checking in here with us. Got a good signal from, I think you're up near south of Fremont a little bit there. And sounds like you're studying hard. Must be getting ready for some final exams or something, maybe for school. Or maybe you're a school teacher. I'm not really sure. Maybe you can elaborate that on a transmission there. But thank you for checking in with us this morning. You got anything else?
No, just a very beautiful day. Getting ready to go into work here in about a couple hours. Hopefully that goes smooth. And they are really just helping the wife with her paper, just really going from proofreading it and making sure that's all good to go there. And trying to adjust this computer screen so that the resolution's a little better for her eyes there. I think that's part of the thing there. But yeah, it's going good. So I'll turn it back to net control. This is KD8OUR.
Real fine, Scott. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was you that was going back to school or if you were teaching school, but yeah, real fine there on your wife there. Good for her. Get her set up there. By golly, she gets one of those big high-paying jobs. You can go into retirement early and work lots of ham radio. I bet she's got going to start grumbling here and giving you a dirty look now. Anyways, good luck to her there on the school paper. I'm sure it'll turn out good. Good to hear you this morning. Who else? Anybody else got anything? Any other announcements or anything? Call now.
N8XLQ, comment.
N8XLQ, go ahead, Lenny.
I've got the YouTube that actually cooperates, so that's live right now. And I heard the Mansfield repeater up the other day as well. So yeah, there's verifications on that. And
around a couple of the ACAT AG120 antennas, so I might have something for you guys to tweet about a couple of used screwdriver antennas. N8XLQ.
Super cool. What was the model number on the screwdriver antennas?
They're used ATAS-120. The 120 is for 120 watts.
Very good. Looking forward to talking about that with you there next week. Sounds very interesting. Yaesu AGAS-120 screwdriver antennas. Yeah, very good. And thanks for doing the YouTube, Lenny. And glad you got that up and working there. Looking forward to listening to that, checking that out here this week too. Appreciate that. All right. Anybody else?
We had lunch. I done had a bologna sandwich in that QQI.
Yeah, you're reading my mind, Jim. It's time to eat. My wife's she made me spaghetti here today with bread, garlic bread and all, salad and all that kind of stuff. So stomach's growling, so I think it's time to call it a day. All right, very good. Thanks, Jim. All right, well, first of all, thank you to Jim, K-E-A-E-R-N, my statistician, for giving us our information on the HF beacons here this morning. Thanks to Lenny, N8XLQ, for doing the YouTube Live. Appreciate that, Lenny. Thanks to Bob, W-A-A-J-B-T, for all the VE test sessions, special event stations, all that good stuff. Dan didn't have a report for us here this week, and we missed him, but we'll get him next week on some nice ISS and Tiangong passes and our weather information. Thanks to Pat for the use of the repeater network, and thank you to Ron, K-E-A-P-X, for being our HF liaison to the station this morning. And especially thanks to all you guys that checked in here today. You guys are what make it a great net. All right, other than that, this weekend, Florida's got their Florida State QSO party going on. Nothing else big going on. Maybe some nice special events you might want to check out that Bob had talked about here this morning. Those are always a lot of fun, so check that out. Get on the radio and have some fun. And we'll catch you all here again next week, Wednesday at 10:15 a.m. And we will make sure we get to the Heat DX60 next week. My apologies to those who are standing by for that. All right, with that, we'll close this session on North Central Ohio Information Traffic Net. So the net close, let's show it close at 12. It's coming up on 12:45 p.m. Everybody have a safe and wonderful week. We'll catch you here next weekend. WB8REI and the net are now clear. 73.
Alrighty then, here we go. November 8, X-Ray Lima, Quebec. Lenny Round here in Huron City with the live YouTube coverage. The Northern Ohio, North Central Ohio Traffic and Information Net with KC8 RCI. Alright. You guys take care, man. We'll see you again next week. Here we go.